Aloha Kohala. It is 3 o'clock here on October 23rd, 2024. You're listening to KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala with Intuitive Talk Story with me, Eila Allgood, and my co-host,
Michelle Anna.
And we have a special guest today visiting us, Michelle Melendez, yes?
Yep.
And Michelle wrote a book called Great Maui Land Grab, and we're going to talk to her about that and some of her experiences. So welcome, Michelle.
Mahalo for having me, and aloha, everyone.
So where would you like to start?
Well, this book, basically what happened after Maui, after the fire, when the Hawaii governor went to the United Nations and started telling everybody that the Hawaii fire was because of climate change. I had to start speaking out, because what people need to understand is that climate change, well, first you have to think about, why did the governor go to the United Nations? Why does any governor go to the United Nations? The United Nations is world leaders. Why was the governor of Hawaii going to the United Nations to tell them about a fire that happened in his state? Has any other governor on any of the states gone to the United Nations to tell them about a disaster in their state? No. So there was an agenda, and what the agenda is for climate change, for people to believe about climate change. And so I really encourage everybody to go and research what the climatologists and meteorologists have to say. If you go to World Climate Declaration, I believe it's .org or .com, World Climate Declaration, look at that website. You will see almost 2,000 credentialed scientists. Again, these are meteorologists, climatologists, and other scientists that literally state, they're from around the world, almost 2,000 have stated there's no climate danger. There's no climate danger. So why was the governor of Hawaii going to the United Nations saying this? And my book, Great Maui Land Grab, you can get it at greatmauilandgrabbook.com. It literally shows numerous climatologists and meteorologists, including John L. Coleman, who was the first weatherman for Good Morning America. He also founded the Weather Channel. This is John Coleman. He has been a meteorologist since the 70s. So when he's also in the book, and he literally states there's no climate danger. The reason they need people to believe, and they meaning the powers that be, who the leaders who are running at the show, is because they've invested in renewable energy and renewable sustainable development. And this is very, if people look up Rosa Corey, this is also in my book, we need to understand why this is happening, and it is about following the money. And when you look at the climate narrative, as well as what they want to bring in and what they want to take away, that actually is a big, shows the story. And so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So thank you. That's a lot for people to take in.
Yes.
So we're going to take a breath and ask that. Can you share a little bit about who are you in relationship? Were you living there? Do you have family there?
Yeah.
What was the connection?
The connection is I've been on Big Island for my family's been on Big Island for 30 years. I've been on island since January 2019. I've been a wellness and fitness expert for 30 years. I know when COVID happened, I started speaking out because I've been a fitness and wellness expert for 30 years. I understand the immune system. I understand how the body reacts with different diseases and viruses. And so I started speaking out against it because from my understanding of being, again, a wellness expert for 30 years, I know that a mask helps about as good as a chain link fence against a mosquito. Antibacteria soap or antibacterial lotion is actually harmful for your gut because your body actually has more bacteria than it does cells, and the bacteria actually helps keep you healthy, so you do not want to kill it. The best thing you can do is just regular soap. So I started speaking out, and when the Maui fire happened, I just was like, this is not Pono, something is wrong here. When I looked at,
So let me just
Sure.
interrupt you. So was that a gut feeling that you had?
Absolutely.
So you were hearing what was going on over there, maybe through different media outlets, and you're like, something's off.
Something's
Something
very
didn't
off.
feel right to you.
Especially for Lahaina to have 30 to 80 mile an hour winds when
Right.
it's usually
Like, where's that coming from?
exactly. And
Yeah.
also, they claim it was because Hurricane Dora, but here's the thing: there was on the day of the fire, live on I think it was CRA Channel 3 News, the meteorologist, the chief meteorologist, his name is Mark Finan. He said on live television he doesn't think the hurricane has anything to do with the winds because it's 600 miles away,
Right.
moving away from the island.
Right.
And then 3 months later, he retires. Like a lot of questionable things.
Yeah. So you started seeing these things and noting them and researching them to find out what might be going on here. And you're humming. So maybe Michal had a question
I'm
in
just
that.
with you.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
with you. Like, yes,
Yes.
finding out the truth,
Yes.
uncovering what really is there.
Well, and to understand that it's much more than what we are sometimes led to believe based on general media outlets, just like so many other things. But this you went into and you've researched.
I've not only researched, but I've interviewed a 33-year firefighter
Yeah.
and captain, and he's also in the book. I've interviewed a 48-year who's now 50-year tree expert, arborist. He's called
Yeah.
the arborist. He's in the book. I've looked at the 20 laws that the Hawaiian Governor Green, suspended 22 days before the fire, and the first one was the Historic Preservation Law.
What is that about?
Historic preservation law is basically they could not basically tear anything that's historical down and rebuild. He suspended that law. It was the first one he suspended, and they claim it's because of homelessness. And I remember watching one of the interviews with him, and there was another person, and his name is escaping me right now, but they both said, homelessness is an emergency, and then one of them says children are dying because they're homeless. And I'm like, okay, where are the 911 reports of homeless people calling in saying children are dying because they're homeless? There were none. But what happened was he suspended these laws, and there were two organizations, and forgive me for I'm not remembering the name, but that is in the book. There's two organizations that had were going to sue him, had filed a case against the governor for suspending these laws, and they actually took back the case. They actually took off. They stopped the case because he had changed some wording, which I don't think they should have taken that case off at all, because for the governor to suspend these laws, it's
So let's connect the dots.
Yes.
So he suspends some laws, and how does it affect what's going on in Lahaina with the fires?
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
right now, first of all, Lahaina's the homes were absolutely destroyed. They were
Right.
disintegrated. Okay, not like a regular wildfire. Regular wildfire leaves black soot. It burns the trees. It will not melt a car. It doesn't melt the glass. But that's what this fire did. It completely melted glass,
Obliterated.
left the trees, turned the homes to white ash, which means it's really, really hot.
Right.
But it didn't. Like I said, it didn't burn all the trees up. So, but what's going on is Lahaina, and many of you guys out there probably know this, Lahaina was the capital of the Hawaii Islands when King Kamehameha III was reigning. It's a very sacred,
Yes,
very
very
sacred
historic.
place.
Yeah.
And so these laws being suspended, especially the historical preservation law, I mean, now they can just rebuild because everything's pretty
So
much
they can
destroyed.
rebuild
Whatever
anything
they want.
Whatever they want
instead
to.
of what was there, bringing it back to its
Absolutely.
historic
They're not
form.
held to this historic cultural preservation law
Right.
any longer,
Right.
which gives them free reign. And how convenient that happens just 22 days prior to that event.
Yep, absolutely.
So what are some other kind of anomalies that you came across?
Well, there was the bodies, some of the bodies that were not in the home. In the home, if people died in the home or in cars, they were gone. They were ash. They were turned to ash.
Wow.
But if they didn't, that we actually,
That does
there's
not
two bodies that are pictures. So just a warning, if you get the book Great Maui Land Grab, you will see two bodies that are in there. One is a charred body laying on the ground, and you can see the corn rolls in their hair. You see the hair. How is that possible in a fire? A person burns from the outside in. And
Right.
another picture that you'll see, and this is a warning because these are disturbing images, is a person that's charred halfway through his body. On the right side of his body, it's charred. His right hand is charred, floating off the ground. It's frozen. It's like, and I say frozen for, it's petrified. It looks like it's petrified in some way. But the other side is completely normal. But you see the line. You can see a line directly all the way down the body on the right side.
So this is not a
normal.
wildfire.
This is not normal. And
Yeah,
a
and we
friend-
don't know what it is, but it's not a wildfire.
Not a wildfire.
Well,
Yeah.
the arborist actually said, I asked him, I said, how do trees not burn in a fire? He told me, Michelle, it's because the chemistry of the fire doesn't recognize the organic material. He believes it's a microwave chemistry, it's a microwave frequency, and that doesn't recognize organic material, but it does. A microwave frequency does burn cars, melt glass,
Yeah.
but it doesn't
And the
burn
houses,
the organics
right.
and
Yeah.
turn the houses to white ash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
that's pretty
So what
big.
about the organic frequencies of the people? What is that?
Well, the frequency, it's kind of like the things that were blue that didn't burn. So there were blue umbrellas, blue cars, blue boats, and even blue T-shirts, a blue paper ticket, completely intact, found in the white ash, pulled right out of the ash, a blue paper ticket for a submarine ride, pulled right out of the white ash. No holes, no singe marks, nothing. And the reason is because the frequency, there is a U.S. patent. You can look this up or get the book Great Maui Land Grab because it's in the book. It's a U.S. patent for a sapphire laser, and sapphire is the color blue. So the blue color, if it touches something blue, it reflects it. Because it's the same wavelength and frequency. So it doesn't absorb the laser and burn. It actually reflects the laser and doesn't burn. And with the organic material, I think it's because, again, something with the wavelength. It's not the same as the...
I think what's important for people to hear is that this, because there's a lot more research that any of us would need to do unless we're scientifically minded, to really understand how is that even possible. It's past my pay grade, right? What you're really bringing out is to question what's happened, and also that you've talked to a lot of people, and that this isn't the norm for a wildfire.
Correct.
Like even the most extreme wildfires, this isn't part of that. So and we were also going to touch on the fact that there was this, I know I had this feeling when I first heard about what happened in North Carolina, that there was some connection, and I'm getting my whole body is chills right now, which is confirmation for me, that there was some connection to what happened in Maui, which logically didn't make sense to me. I had no basis of anything. It was just a feeling that I had. And we started to talk about that earlier.
Yeah.
Do you want to share any of your own feelings about that?
Yeah, because I actually I have a YouTube channel. It's called Blossom Inner Wellness, and I actually did a video on comparing the hurricane with Maui and what are the comparisons. Well, here's some of the comparisons. Both people in the area of the flood, first of all, that was Kings Mountain in North Carolina that completely flooded, and also in Lahaina, they were being asked. They were being solicited by investment companies to sell their property prior to the disaster. So that's one. The second thing is both Maui and Asheville, North Carolina, set to be smart cities. And what is that? I said earlier, I was talking about earlier about the renewable energy. You know, they want us to believe, one, that this is the answer for us, but these were set. And Maui was set to be the first smart island From 2011 to 2016, Hawaii and Japanese stakeholders decided this. They are not elected officials. This was not voted on by anybody. This was a set thing by these investment companies that want this to happen in Maui and in North Carolina. The other thing in North Carolina that's going on is the Kings Mountain has a lithium mine. And these big investors, the same ones that invested in renewable energy, have an investment in this lithium mine, which is huge. They're set to create 1.2 million electric vehicles a year.
Wow.
In this area. So they wanted to reopen the mine, but before the disaster, they were getting pushback by environmentalists and the locals. They didn't want this. So.
Yeah, so you're seeing some parallels between that, and I think it would be valuable for people who are listening who are like, well, what's a smart city? Go do some research on a smart city and find out what that's supposed to be about.
Yeah, in my book, I mean, it says A Great Maui Land Grab, What Caused the Maui Fire and Is Your Home Next is the name of the book. It also includes this. It includes smart cities. It includes climate change. It includes just things that people need to know about, like the fact that the United States government is not a government, it's actually a corporation. And I know people are like, what is she talking about? But you've got to take a look at it and do some research on it, because it's important for all of us to know that and what is coming for us, including here on Big Island. Because now on Big Island, we have a Big Island General Plan 2045 that is very concerning. It's a 255-page report. Myself and 4 other people have gone through it, and you can actually find the report. Just look up Hawaii General Plan 2045. You can just put that in your URL. The plan will come up. If you want to see my comments on it, you can go to standtogetherhawaii.com/action. Standtogetherhawaii.com/action. And you'll see my comments on the general plan that I have given to the planning department. And what is really concerning is that it says in the plan they want to limit mobile transportation. That's one of the things. Another thing they want to, the exact wording is escaping me, but they want to be able to take land for conservation purposes. They want to have more clustered housing. And this all language is very flowery language. People need to understand what this means. And it is.
What do you think it means?
I think it means that it is a taking away of our freedoms. Rosa Corey, who was a 30-year chief director of the California Transportation Department, she found she was also a commercial litigation expert. She actually found the UN plan for basically all of the United States and all of the world. And she started going to county councils and telling them, please watch your general plan, because this will take away people's freedoms. It will make people license their chickens and their cows and basically cluster people into apartments instead of having people live on rural areas. And she was warning us for many, many years to keep an eye on our general plan. And now it's here. And we do have an opportunity to give testimony on November 1st to the county council. And if you want to learn more on how to do that, you can go just join the email list. It's free. It's at standtogetherhawaii.com.
So the Hawaii 2045 plan, I think it's really important. That's our home here.
That's our home.
That's Big
And
Island.
that's our
That matters.
And that's our descendants who are going to be here, and future generations who are going to be here, and how they're going to be here. So it's important that we have a say, and we all do have a voice. For those who are listening, maybe they think, oh, what difference does it make? I'll be dead, or no one's going to care what I have to say, but actually that's not how it works.
And I love this show because this is about your inspiration. Each one of us was guided to be here at this time in history.
Right.
And each one of us has an intuition that says something's wrong. And when you go forward and you follow your guided inspiration and you send in an email, and testify. You can just do it by email. I make it super easy. Again, standtogetherhawaii.com. I give you the email address. I give you a template that you can use. You can change how you want to use it, how you want to do it. But after you stand up, if there's something inside of you, for me, this is what happens for me. I should just speak with myself. There's something that happens inside of me that says, you can't do this. I'm going to stand up for what is right, not what is easy. And,
Right.
a lot of people just want to forget about things. But if you forget about things, that doesn't mean it's going to skip you. That doesn't mean you're not going to be your freedoms are not going to be taken away just because you're not doing
and there's
anything.
opportunity too to support other people who are stepping up. So sometimes not everybody goes and does whatever it is, but you can support your partner, you can support your kid, you can support your friend who's talking, or just talk to other people about it. That's what the radio is about. Just sharing knowledge, sharing some of our opinions or our feelings. And I should say this, hold on. The opinions, beliefs, and views of the host do not necessarily reflect those of KNKR nor their affiliates.
Yeah.
Because, we live in a world where people have a lot of different opinions, and sometimes this sort of conversation, it pokes somebody. It means they might need to look at something and they're not ready today.
Yeah.
But they will be ready,
Yeah.
and we need to be ready. And I think you bring up a really good point, which is we're here because we want to be here at this time in history. It's a huge time. There's so much light and positivity and optimism, and there's also a lot of dark things that are coming up, and we got to address them so that they can just dissolve, and
Yes.
it won't be there anymore.
Yes.
If we can't sweep it under the rug anymore.
No.
And me and Michal, we don't sweep much under the rug here.
No, we don't.
So I think it's really important for people who hear this to feel inspired to do something, to learn something, and to talk to one another about it, and to just be out of the box. Maybe you don't want to hear this right now, but it's okay. It's your life, it's your moment, yet we want to be able to change things for the better for everybody.
Yeah.
And we do that through action. We do that through prayer. We do that through conversations with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely 100% agree. And in the book, after every chapter, I have a prayer because I do believe this is some type of spiritual war. I think that we don't really understand what this world really is. We're not just supposed to go to work every single day and, and just forget about our spirituality. There's something more here. And I do feel that this, especially Lahaina, out of all of the places on Hawaii, in the way that is done, and when you look at what happened, there's just, in my opinion, and that's the other thing I wanted to share was that the Maui Fire Department put out a report of what caused the Maui fire. And it said basically that it was a fire that was put out but then rekindled in the brush because it wasn't cleaned up, and so it rekindled, and that's all they said. But yet these men spent 12 minutes on this report. On the video that I saw, they spent 12 minutes saying how great they all are. Then they said it was because of this brush fire. Then when you look at the report, all of their names are redacted. All of every single investigator's name is crossed off in black marker. You cannot see who these people are. So also, they didn't say, yes, this is how the Maui fire started, and this is why we spent $2.4 million 2 weeks after the fire to put up a 5-mile-long dust screen, and we didn't allow homeowners back to their property for 3 months, and we wouldn't allow any drones to fly over. They didn't say any of these things in this report. And so it's
And all of that just makes no sense at all. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. It's not constitutional either.
Well, it doesn't make sense to you or I, but it makes sense to whoever is trying to do whatever they're trying to do. So it's some other agenda.
Right. What I mean is it's not in the highest good of the people is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I went to Maui when the federal agencies were there, and they did a meeting on what are they going to do with the federal funding. So the Congressman Ed Case was there, and he literally asked Mayor Bisson He said, so we're going to be giving you guys millions of dollars. And this was in August, September. Yeah, it was in August. And he said, we're going to be giving you billions of dollars for Lahaina. What are you going to do with that money? And Mayor Bisson said, oh, we'll have a plan in October. So over a year, but that doesn't mean it's going to go to the people. What's going to happen, in my opinion, is it's going to go to contracts. And I mentioned something earlier about a contract being created before the Lahaina fire, which was disturbing. But I was shocked about that, and I actually went up to Ed Case and I said, where is the billions of dollars for the people, for the residents? And he said, oh, they got money from FEMA. the $700. That's another thing. $700 was given to Maui residents, $750 to the Asheville residents, and that is a slap in the face.
Ridiculous.
Well, we need to kind of finish up our conversation. So how would you like to leave the topic with us today?
Well, I just want to say much mahalo for having me. And those of you who are curious, you can go to greatmauilandgrabbook.com, greatmauilandgrabbook.com. The great thing about this book is that it also, if you know anybody who's just curious about what's going on in the world and why, this book will give a lot of answers to that.
Well, that's wonderful. We really appreciate you coming
so much.
and chatting with us and sharing your findings, and your passion for this is clearly there. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you that's listening, can they find it through the book?
Yep, greatmauilandgrabbook.com, or again, you can join StandTogetherHawaii.com as well.
And it sounds like StandTogetherHawaii.com has a lot of resources on ways you can get involved, that you can get it. Could you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the action page, I usually always post what action I'm sending to the email list on there. If you go to Maui Fire, if you want to learn a lot about what I've researched, a lot of it's there. So that's StandTogetherHawaii.com, and it's free to join the email list. And then you'll get emails about the stuff that's happening with our legislative body here on the islands.
And, I myself am I'm definitely not a political or in any of those realms. I'm definitely more of the intuitive girl, but I really very much feel that it's important. And I really want to thank Michelle for doing this on the ground, very different brain work. Because to me, it's like, oh my gosh, that's treacherous work, doing that kind of work. And I just thank you for doing the hard-nosed work, for putting yourself out there, for doing the long hours that I know you're doing to create these things and bring this information to the public. And so I encourage all of us, me included, to really get on that website and at least sign petitions, do things that we can do as a community, especially because we're talking about our, it's one thing you're like, I can't see it from my house, but right, it's at your house. It's all at our house. And so I think we all need to realize that things are right in our own neighborhoods, and that we need to get a little more involved in what's going down in legislation. And this whole thing around contracts is no different than what I talk about every day on the spiritual aspects. People are making agreements and contracts with things we have no understanding about. And these very loopholes and things are being laid in to even every time you check the box and get your password and your email, you're making agreements to something that you don't understand typically. So this idea across the board, right? We have to claim our sovereignty within ourselves, release agreements, contracts, be clear about which ones we're making, and then realize what collective agreements are we making? What contracts are we agreeing to as a community? A lot of things that get put forth in legislation, it's real easy for them to slip stuff in there because we're not paying attention. I mean, we're all doing our thing. We're like, whatever, I know, I'm just doing my thing, so.
Well, until it affects you.
Right. So I think it's important. I'm just kind of putting a shout out of reiterating what she's saying, that before it completely affects us, guys, because we're already here and it's a lot of things have affected us already. Let's all put a fire under our butts and do something at this point and get a little bit more informed and see how we can really make sure that our freedoms stay intact. That's really the bottom line, is that basically we stay and remain a free community working together and create more systems so that we can work together and
Create the
a
systems
more
we
efficient
want.
way. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
rather than
Putting our
feeling them
energy-
thrust upon us by other.
Yeah.
And years ago, I sat down with some politician about an issue, and boy, we were on opposite. We couldn't have been more opposed, but we talked, and we kept talking, and that person totally switched their perspective. They were in tunnel vision. So we can change minds by talking about it. So thank you for what you've done here and what you continue to do. And it's taken a lot of courage, besides a lot of energy, to put this book together, but to speak up and speak out. So thank you.
Yeah, mahalo for having me.
Yes. Aloha. We're going to take a station break, and we will be right back. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Aloha. This is Eila Allgood of Women's Voices. Please join me on Wednesdays between 4 and 6 p.m. on KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala. We never quite know what we're going to be hearing because most of my choices are intuitive, unless they come from you, my listening audience, when you call in and make a request. I look forward to playing tunes for you.
Pre-contact Hawaii was a magical place indeed. There were gods and demigods always around us, and the spirit members of the family visited the physical world to bring us messages or warn of dangers. Animals and plants could animate and converse with people, and heroes wielded magic weapons like talking spears and flying clubs. On Monday, October 28th, you are invited to come hear historian Boyd Bond describe the spirit world of the Hawaiians and learn the difference between mana and kapua. That's Monday, October 28th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the North Kohala Public Library. And for more information, call the library, 808-889-6655.
The show Working Hard or Hardly Working has been moved from Friday early morning to early Thursday morning at 7 a.m. This is Lisa E., and I will bring you the news of the day. Every Thursday morning, local, state, national, and world news. Hear it first from us at KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala.
Welcome back. You're listening to Intuitives Talk Story on KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala with Eila Allgood and
Michal Anna.
And we are happy to be here, and we thank Michelle for a very deep and informative conversation.
Very much. And it also parallels really all the stuff we're talking about. I mean, we're just seeing things in different dimensional frameworks. It's on the physical level or in the internal frameworks, because we can kind of go into, we are internally creating any upheaval within ourselves that we then see projected outward as well. Mm-hmm. So what can we do about all these things? Like we said, we can physically get involved in being proactive, but then we can also take a look at, where am I putting energy towards any separated thoughts in my own reality? Where am I getting involved in my own, I'm not on Maui, for instance, or North Carolina, but I have donated to families. We can find places that are
Reputable.
Thank you. that we can, trust to give resources to. And then the power of remembering it's all energy. We're in a movie and the projections are thick, and let us visualize and change with our energetic frameworks what we see happening out there. What is the reality and the earth you want to live on, and what am I consciously doing to create that paradigm with my own thoughts? Am I putting energy towards watching war movies, towards fretting and fearing about what's happening, or am I putting energy towards seeing the truth and then being proactive about moving into a greater paradigm?
Yeah, and I think it's important when we do that, that sometimes the truths are hard to see, it's hard to hear, it's hard to read. And it's important that we bring light to it so that we understand that there's something that we can do, with whatever situation. I think one of the things that came up for me about the situation in Lahaina is that living in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, I have felt kind of like I'm not on the mainland. I don't have to deal with mainland stuff. Oh, we live in this blissful place. And yes, we all have issues that come up here and there. But this was like an invasion of our very sacred, and when I say our, I mean like humanity's sacred place. And it feels very important for us to see that and take action, whatever action we can.
I absolutely agree. And I think we're seeing on the macro to the micro that we put people in places of leadership, and boy, this is a parallel, but people of leadership, and then they aren't doing or being what it is they say they are, and that they're not actually helping and doing what they, like FEMA, as she brought up that FEMA on the ground giving $750, $700, but not beyond that. I also, which we didn't bring up, resources were being sent. I heard many stories and saw footage of resources being moved from places to go to Asheville or Maui and being transferred instead to other people, other encampments, other people they would like to have it. If it wasn't for our incredible brothers and sisters here in Hawaii from Oahu helping Maui people, I mean, my sister and her husband helped, were helping a lot during that time, taking resources, etc. If that was not happening, those poor people would have had a real difficult time. And right now on the ground, it's like the public, the people helping the people, the government and people that are supposedly there to help us are pretty blatantly showing that they're not, which is very interesting also for it to be that blatant now at this point. I find that to be pretty interesting. It's not hiding it so much.
I think that's one of the positives of social media is that people, we all walk around with cameras. We can film something and post that, and then everybody kind of knows what's going on. So
and things are coming out of the shadows. You cannot hide, and the shadow is where everything hides. I have a similar situation in my own world that I'm navigating. Where I'm really proponent of honesty, directness, openness. Let's bring it out into the open, because everything that is in darkness hides in the shadow. It's able to have power because it's a secret. It's in the shadow. It's over here. You can't see it. And if we bring it into the light, then it's here. Then it can't be art. We can say, I can say, well, Michelle thinks I'm this, and I can go over and put a secret in Eila's ear, and then Michelle thinks something's wrong, and then she thinks they don't like me, and then she breeds something in her head, and then now we've created some horrible thing based on this fear and breeding of this separation. And ultimately what we're doing is coming out of separation, we're coming into unity, and we're choosing to work in a direct, honest, transparent paradigm. And I really commend Michelle for the work she's doing to bring things to the light in that forum, because it's incredibly important that we see clearly and we remove the falsities and kind of call out the pink elephants in the room. Yeah,
absolutely. And as you were talking about the thoughts, I was thinking how many times I've had something in my head that was bothering me, and you just roll it around in there and it just gets murkier and murkier in that dark place. And as soon as I can speak it and even talk to somebody, they don't even have to say anything. They're just sitting there. Or if I speak it out loud to myself, it gets it out of that kind of crazy place in my head, and now I can shed some light on it, and now I can move that energy. I mean, we're all about moving energy. So you get it, like the book, it's energy. That is an energy form, and that's out now, and that's going out into the world. And you don't even know how many people are being affected by that. And it's a amazing thing that when we get things out like that, and we're talking about it on the radio, that it just moves it, and it's such a better place.
Yeah, and once there's no power in that anymore. See, things have power when they're hidden, and I'm empowering some situations in the stories that I'm involved in, and it is so amazing to watch the people become empowered through, like, the truth is nothing can harm you when you have nothing to hide. You can't get me. Bring it up. Whatever you got, throw it at me.
Right.
I don't care. What do you got? Let me see it. You got nothing.
I have no secrets.
I got nothing. I got no secrets.
Yeah.
I got nothing. There's nothing I'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
Yeah.
So there's power in that, because nothing has power over us, as we speak about a lot,
Yes.
unless we give it. So that also means we need, then the parallel to this, taking our power as the people, and I really heard Michelle empowering the people, that
Yes.
we really have the power by making choices, by getting involved, by saying, hey, we want this, by holding accountability. There's other things she spoke about, not on air, around liabilities and things that we can do to hold accountability to our government. So if you're interested in that, please get on that website and get involved. The more the merrier when it comes down to this thing. If you are a lawyer, a person like that, you have that mind, oh my goodness, get involved. Please, we need more of everyone, really using our collective forces to create the earth we really want to live in. And because it just, we're seeing, unfortunately, we're not all on the same page, and some people have a real different idea of where they want to go. And at this point in the game, we all need to just understand that and take some conscious effort.
Well, and I feel like the only person you can control is you, right? So to me, and we've talked about this a lot, being authentically who you are. Nobody can really argue with that. They can't tell you you're wrong if you're authentically who you are. You're not pretending to be something else. And I feel like I've experienced times in my life where I wasn't really being authentic, and people didn't really trust me, and it was because I was hiding something, and I was afraid, and it helped me understand that if I don't trust somebody, there's probably something they're afraid of and they're hiding. And it's the more that we can just really open our hearts and speak truth kindly. We don't have to be abrupt and horrible and mean. But for those of us who are trained to be people pleasers and speak nice and make nice to everybody, it's okay to speak truth.
Well, you bring up something I'd love to throw out, because in the Western world, this assumption, and it happens without even people thinking of it, most people, and I brought this up the other day with a client who's like, oh no, because people usually pretend, oh no, people don't talk out loud like that. Mm. They don't say those things. Mm-hmm. Michal, people don't speak the truth to each other. That doesn't happen. And they associate speaking the truth, like you said, you don't have to be mean or crazy, and it's not, speaking the truth does not mean being abrasive, being wow, you're intense, you're crazy, you're abrupt. And you don't have to be a people pleaser or gloss it over super sweet and like sugary. We can actually normalize that speaking our truth, coming just straight, direct, just monotone in whatever form. I mean, meaning, again, we're not getting crazy. I agree with you. We're not yelling and screaming. But also we associate truth speaking with being a little intense. People who speak the truth already are, whoa, they're a little, they're abrupt. They're a little crazy. They're pretty intense.
I think maybe because it wasn't the norm. It hasn't been the norm, but I'd like it to be the norm.
Yeah.
I'd like it to be normal for people to just say, if I ask you, Michal, what do you think of this shirt? You can say, and it's okay.
Right. Let's normalize that the truth can just be.
And not take things so personally.
Right. And so the truth, and we talk about this a lot, taking nothing personal from those 4 agreements, back to that, take nothing personal, one of the top ones. But we can do that. If we take nothing personal, then we can also hear more truths. And in hearing more
Yeah.
truths, we can be more proactive, because guess what? It's really not about you. All the stuff we're talking about isn't about any of us. It's about, well, what's happening on in the middle. We're talking about a topic out here, and we all can put input and go, what can we do about it? What ends up happening a lot of times is people get stuck and they take it personal. So you think this and you think that, and
Right.
now it's about Bob and Susie, and it's like we forgot about the topic.
Yeah.
So it's not about Bob, it's not about Susie, it's about the topic, and what do we all want to do about it? And can we take that stuff out and normalize truth telling? Let's normalize the truth. I mean, just being truthful is like, hey, that's normal. Cool.
Well, you know, I think that brings up the whole programming thing. Like, we're programmed to think that someone who speaks truthfully is abrasive, harsh, nasty, unpleasant.
Out there.
Just, not something I want to be around, not something no, let's not tell the truth.
I can't tell you how many times the word intense has been used about me.
No.
No. Right. And so it's like, boy, the more, and it's only intense because people aren't expecting, they don't expect the truth. You could say it, that just the fact that you say it is like intense for someone.
Yeah.
But I would, to me, it's more like, I'm kind of offended if you don't tell me the truth. If I walk into to your store and I've got cookie all over my face and you don't tell me, boy, I'm going to be a little bit offended that you don't tell me the truth, that I got stuff all over my face. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And that's the simple external part, right? That's a simple external, but it's a great example of being honest and being truthful with one another.
Yeah, we help each other out, because as we choose to stand in our own truth, in our own power, what we actually do is give all of the people around us the permission to do the same. And truthfully speaking, I think most people want to embody something greater than that which they're enacting. If you, right now, if you sit with yourself and just like kind of take a feeling of what you think you are, like, what am I? Don't think it, actually feel it for a second.
Yeah.
What do I feel like I am? Feel it for a second. Okay, now ask yourself, is that what I'm meant to be? Are you meant to be more? Is there more of you that you haven't yet uncovered? Is there more that you've yet to embody? Is there more that you can breathe into and sit into? So in that moreness, we get to experience more truth, more expansion. So the more we're willing to sit in that place, the more we're willing to take off our blinders and widen the viewpoint, the more vast richness we actually get to experience, the more unified internally we get to experience, the more peace we then get to project outward and experience inward.
And who doesn't want to experience more peace?
Right?
I mean, I think that's one of the things I've learned in speaking truth. It provided peace for me, and it didn't provide lack of peace for whoever or whatever I was speaking truth to. It actually stirred things up and helped us to move to another place. Whether it was one person that I was speaking truth to or a group of people sharing some truths to, it felt like it raised the vibration. It didn't cause people tremendous angst, but I also wasn't attached to what might happen to other people, because sometimes when you speak truth and you let it go, you don't know how they're going to react, and it's not my responsibility.
Boy, I know this one. I've spoken some truths, and then I've been, kind of amazed at how people react or what happened, and realize they honestly a lot of times aren't able to hear them, right? They're not able to hear the
Yes.
truths you speak.
Right.
They're not ready to hear certain truths because of the journey, because of the attachments, because of the woundings, because of the things we're still trying to get or fill up, or it's too much, or I can't possibly bear. And like I was saying the other day with you and I chatting, it's real difficult when you really are close to the light or love or God or source, and you feel that heart feeling. It's real difficult to understand the separation. You're like, no, they wouldn't. That can't really be happening. You're silly. Nobody would do that, because you can't possibly fathom it
Well,
yourself.
you're in a different reality. That's why.
Exactly. But but I'm saying, like, a lot of folks have said that to me, like, no, they say that. And I'm like, oh, it's just because you have so much love, you can't imagine how the darkness. There's just so much love in you that you really can't fathom the separation. And some of these things we're talking about are really just evil things. They're not cool. They're very horrible, and they don't have the love. Sorry, where the love is not there. So we need to recognize, hey, some people just aren't operating from love. There's some separated stuff going down. And we need to, bring it back into unity by shining the light and going, hey, we see you over there, separation, and we're not really down with it. We're not going to let it hide in the shadows over there. We're shining the light on the whole thing to bring it back into the fold, because either you're composting or you're rising up.
Well,
right?
I don't even know what to say after that, Michal.
The truth shall prevail. Well, you brought up programs, and I love that you brought that up, because I feel that these programs are based in the lies we tell ourselves that are based in our wounds. Our wounds fuel the programs. Our fear fuels all of that. So what we're trying to get to is this place where we can unlock our inner child and be real honest about everything that's happened. You were talking about the truth hurting people. I'm in a situation where I'm speaking some truth, and I'm also seeing how that the truths, it's hard for some to embody the truth. Then you go into denial, right? Now the denial does a whole nother thing when you watch that scape. When one chooses denial, you choose to block yourself from the truth, which just creates more pain and constriction and fear and heldness. So don't do that. If you can help it
Well,
out
and
there,
I think
choose to unlock versus deny, because owning our pain and saying, it's hard to say, you know what, I was a real jerk, or you know what, I really did this. And that's usually the truths we don't want to hear. We don't want to hear the ones where I did something wrong, or I actually was a jerk. And well, yeah, but if I can admit it and go, I was, and I really want to be different. I really want to choose that different. And then enact it. I have to embody, right? I have to actually embody new choices. I can't just talk. I have to make new things.
But before you embody the new choice, sometimes you need to do some work to find out why you were a jerk in the first place, right? If I acted or reacted to something somebody did, and then I'm sorry for what I did, but why did I do that? And I was telling you the other day, I was like having some emotional reaction to something, and I'm like, okay, I get the emotion. Let the emotions come up, sit and cry, blow your nose, and then ask, well, what else? What else is this about? And understanding that it was programming from ancestors, and it's much more than just that one incident. And to be open to that so that I can heal that all the way back, wherever it needs to be healed, not just say, I'm sorry I did that and go on about my day. Because to me, it's a responsibility of my behavior is coming from somewhere. So if I'm acting out in a way that's hurtful to someone or unkind, and I don't like that behavior that I'm doing, then I got to go look at that.
Right, which this touches on a concept Eila and I discuss a lot of kind of picking up your pearls, working with your inner child. When a program ignites, you've kind of got that 30 seconds before it kind of clicks in and you're, I'm in the program. And you get to take a look at, where is that acting from? Ooh, inner child me. Ooh, where's that coming from? Oh, my dad always used to yell at me and say that same thing to me. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I don't feel worthy. That might be a base emotion. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel good enough. I don't feel loved. What am I feeling? Where is it coming from? Talking to that inner child at that place, giving your inner self what you need. If you are able to, you use that to zero it out. Again, you have another opportunity. Zero out that experience, zero out that memory, and bring that piece back into self. And at that point, then we're owning, these pieces. We're coming into wholeness, and we're releasing these programs that are filtering us from being able to really walk in the truth, see the truth, and resonate in this like unattached and amused place that we talk about.
Well, and I just did that today. I had something that came up for me in the past year about when I was a kid, and I worked it through. And then today I called my daughter because something came up when she was here about her childhood. And I said, I observed that you didn't remember. I said, first I asked her permission to talk about something deep, which is always good to ask because maybe someone's not in a space for that. And then I shared with her my experience, and I said, you know, I healed little me. I feel complete with that. It doesn't affect me anymore. I can talk about that story, and there's no emotion around it. And I said, I observed in you, there was a story in your life that you didn't even remember till I told you. And before you sweep it under the rug, just know that you have the power to heal that. You have the power to love that little person who was mistreated, so that you don't have to try to remember it anymore. It's done. You're done with it.
Ooh, and that brings up a really great thing is kind of like, why don't, like, for instance, this topic we were talking about today, these are deep, intense things. And people are like, ooh, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to look at that. But what is it hitting in you that makes you not want to look at it? Is it dark and scary? Does it make you feel scared that somebody might be doing these horrible things? Do you feel scared in yourself? Does it just threaten your own safety? And why? See, because our goal would be, if there's problems and we're responsible creator beings, there's problems in our worldscape. Well, I don't need to be scared of that. I just need to be able to look at it. We're all managing directors here.
Right.
What's the problem? Let's take a look at it. If it's literally making me scared or emotional, then I have a match to whatever it's bringing up in me. That reflection is going, I don't want to look. So why don't I want to look at that? What is it bringing up in my own self? And how can I peel that away just with the system we're talking about?
I think what came up for me as you were talking about that is that it's a practice. So the more we go and we gather our pearls and we go through this process, we realize there's nothing to be afraid of. Maybe I'm going to cry. Maybe I'm going to scream because I'm furious about something that happened when I was 6. Whatever it is, it's going to come up. I'm going to deal with it, and it's going to come out, and I'm going to feel better. So you do that enough, and you know what's to be afraid of? It's an old thing that happened, and I'll work it through, and then I'll feel better for it.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And when you've had a lot of support, you've had a training in doing so. But let's say you've come from a real traumatic background. You know, you're like, well, I don't even understand what that means. I don't even know what that means. So it's baby steps, giving yourself, retraining the brain. So remembering that everything, that's why I love the right left brain, the dance, the movement, because it helps us to retrain our thoughts and our patterns. So remember, anything you put in, it's repetition is the mother of all learning. We
Yeah.
put a lot of stuff in there. You look back on your own journey. What's been going in there? Gosh, I have to kind of rewire all that because that was maybe not the right info. So, you know, it's kind of like that driveway. I have to redo the drive, but it's rutted out. I got to balance up on top of the driveway every time I turn in the driveway. And then eventually you'll smooth that rut out. But it takes conscious effort for us to make the choices to create new neural pathways, to groove new neurons, because we get so ingrained in these old patterns in these programs. Because
And we can fall back into them. I've followed a neuroscientist quite a bit about the grooves in the brain, especially around food and addictions. And it's through other practices that we do what you say, and we also know that those grooves are still there. So we don't want to act like we'll never have to deal with that again, because we need to honor what has been in the past and continue on the path forward. Yeah. So, well, oh my goodness, we're nearing the end, Michal.
We are, my goodness. So much to say about, being in our truth, resonating from truth, and really being able to have these hard discussions. You know, I really as you know, love the deep talks. It's very hard for me to do anything but. And I enjoy getting to the root and to the meat of the matter so that we can really evoke change. I mean, because if we're not doing the root work and pulling the weed out, we're just going to be cutting it down again next week. I mean, I garden. So I'm like, can we just pull the weed out already?
Get the root, honey.
Get
the root.
and then compost.
All right. That's how we're going to leave you with today is get the root and compost
anything you
with
don't
love.
need.
With love.
That's right. And let that which you're really wanting to grow. Envision the beautiful, yummy, perfect mango. Envision that which you want. You shall know a tree by the fruit it bears.
Thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, everybody.
well.
And we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Aloha.
Mahalo.